that any issue not captured by the COI is residual. It comes back to our responsibility to investigate and prosecute corruption no matter where it happens. So it's just a question of our ability to do so, taking into consideration our capacity, our manpower, our resources, and the time available to us.
Now, considering the white papers, establish for us how huge this task is before you.
I think fighting corruption is a huge task. The ACC has problems with manpower. We have discussed this before. We have issues with resources. We've discussed this before. And there are other challenges in terms of logistics and all these other things. So the COI has just dumped on us a lot more when already our cup was full. But we'll see how we can manage it. I've always said that when God is involved, numbers don't matter. We'll see what we can do, and we'll continue producing the results for the country as we are doing now.
Let's also talk about the much talked about issue around the former president of Sierra Leone, Ernest Koroma. You invited him for questioning.
Yes, please.
At the ACC.
Yes.
Why?
You see, we have a role to play. Okay, one thing Sierra Leoneans have to understand, particularly those who have been raising, I think they are just exaggerating this issue. Inviting President Koroma to make a statement is like inviting any other person to make a statement. He's a citizen, a senior citizen, who should be an example for the country. And there are questions surrounding his own dealings as president in the country. He is not above the law. We have been investigating President Koroma a long time. So firstly, I have to make it clear that the invitation to President Koroma is not really predicated upon the conclusions of the COI. Although issues in the COI were there, but we have to understand this now, that there are investigations which we have started, which concern and touch President Koroma, which were before us. We were just waiting for the right time to speak to him. And these investigations have gone in advanced stages, but it will be unfair for us to reach a conclusion without having to speak to him. There are also several files which we have spoken to previous government officers, including the secretary to president, to him, Mr. Oshokoka. Those people have been making statements to the ACC. Okay, ministers, issues concerning various parastatals, the dealings of NATCOM, for example, NACIT. There are many things when you speak to them, they will say we did it because the president asked us to do so. The president telephoned and said this should happen. The president was involved somehow. The president gave executive clearance for it to be done. It is only but fair, even for him, for us to have a conversation with him around these things, for him to have his own views on them. You know how Sierra Leone is. People will always say that the party tell me. But it is possible that the party did not even tell them. It is now our responsibility to confront President Koroma with some of these things, for him to have a view on it. And we were going to do so with all respect to him. But I find it strange, first of all, he wrote a letter, a notice which basically showed that he was enraged by the invitation to him to make a statement. No, sir, he's not above the law. And it is in his interest for him to speak on some of these issues. And probably some of it will even exonerate him. We can be able to look into the issues more fairly if President Koroma, as a senior citizen, honors our invitation, interacts with the issues, and becomes an example for Sierra Leone. What I see happening in Sierra Leone in recent times is very unfortunate. I think that this is something we have to ensure that as a country we go beyond. To invite somebody to make statement about corruption allegations around him does not mean we are saying he's corrupt. We are merely doing our job. First of all, it's our duty to do so. But secondly, we are giving him a fair chance, with respect, to be able to present his own side of the case before we as a commission can reach a conclusion. So this is the thing that is happening. Of course, a lot of people do not understand these things.
Commissioner, I think, yes, you may want to say this again, but issues around the former president were captured by the COI report, as well as the white papers. Maybe one would want to wonder I mean, why the commission, the ACC, is also inviting him? Is it a continuation of what you already started before? I mean,
like I have said, there are issues which were before the commissions of inquiry, which we were also investigating. Okay, the commissions of inquiry have concluded, but they may not have looked at all the circumstances in the case. They may not have looked at. In fact, for example, I looked at some of the issues and evidence before the commissions of inquiry when it comes to somebody. They are not watertight. Okay?
yeah.
We have already investigated these things. Don't forget, we are a criminal-led investigative institution. So, what we do is more forensic. It's more microscopic. It goes down to the least atom so that we can split it to see the bottom of what is happening. And therefore, for us to continue investigating things that have happened at the COI, don't forget, we do our work to prove case beyond all reasonable doubt in court.
Okay.
That is not the mandate of the COI. The COI is a quasi criminal institution. It uses civil approaches, it uses criminal approaches to doing things, and it does not do so beyond all reasonable doubt as a standard. For as a matter of fact, the standard of the COI is very low. Our standard is very high. So we have a duty to perform, and that duty has to be performed. We have to look into, for example, for the COI to conclude that a property should be confiscated does not have to be proved beyond all reasonable doubt. We have to. Unexplained wealth has the same standard as murder, as treason, as assault. So we have to do more, and we have
Commissioner,
to
tell us about some of these issues that you actually are investigating or probably want to engage the former president on. What are these issues?
I am not going to go into the details of this. The public will know what we are investigating soon after. But I can tell you that there are very serious claims of money laundering around the president. The evidence that we have against him for money laundering particularly is very strong. It is not something that he should shrug away. He should be prepared to confront it and be able to answer the questions around it. There are also questions around unexplained wealth, obviously. Okay. The means by which he acquired properties. We have specific evidence that can prove that there is no way he could have been able to do so using his own resources. There are issues around abuse of position and authority. It does not mean because you are president, you are a king. You are not. The monarchy died a long time ago, and Sierra Leone has never had a monarchy. So when you are a president, you are still limited by section 40 of the constitution.
What does it say?
And that means, it outlines the powers of the president. Yeah. Okay. So for example, if you are a president and you are issuing executive orders that are overriding executive or legislative authority, section 107 of the constitution makes parliament the supreme legislative authority in Sierra Leone. Section 107 and section 106 of the constitution. And section 40 gives powers of the president. It is a separation of power situation with checks and balances embedded into it. If you are president and you are doing things that touch and concern legislative competence, overriding legislative authority, taking away that which should be done, parliament says that this is how we should do this, and you come and say no, don't do it that way, do it this way, the president can be wrong, and the president can be criminally wrong in that regard.
Is it one of the issues that you are likely to talk to me about?
Yes, those are the issues. For example, some of the executive orders that were issued is for us to ask him, did you actually direct this to be issued? Because when, for example, Oshokoka is signing as secretary to president, he will say, I have been instructed by the president to sign. Okay? Executive orders are the powers by which the president exercises executive authority. If other people are signing it in his name, it has to come from him. And therefore, there are many that happen under his watch. So he has to see them, and we ask him, did you really direct this? Did you really instruct this? Maybe he did not. Maybe he was not aware. Maybe he did. You see why it is important that President Koroma comes and sits with us to have a chat. I call it a conversation. That's why I've been laughing when the whole country is jumping all over the place. People have been a BG3, people are making audios on social media, people are going at each other on social media, people are insulting me and things like that. No, it's one of those things that have to happen if we are going to fight for the soul of this country, because it lays the proper foundation for us to go. And that is why a lot of people have been asking me, why did you start with President Koroma? It is the best place to start. Okay. Because once you get that in place and you hear what he has to say and the level of cooperation he gives, it will be easy for other people to fall into place. And that is why I am using this medium again to send a message to President Koroma to say, look, we are a state institution, we are merely doing our job. You are a respectable statesman, a former president. Come, let's sit down, let's all respect each other and do our job, and we'll treat you as one. But to want us to go to his house and he's sipping whiskey while we ask him questions about what is happening in the country, I don't think it is fair to the country for that to happen.
Yeah, we'll come to that, but like you have done on the issue of executive orders, you know, just some explanation around some of the things that probably might have happened. You may want to take me through the issues around maybe unexplained wealth. I mean, maybe you spoke about money laundering. What essentially?
Oh, unexplained wealth basically is, I mean, President Koroma made asset declarations. He actually declared assets maybe 4 or 5 times during his presidency. Okay, some years he skipped, but mostly he did, and that is very exemplary what he was doing. Some ministers never bothered to even declare assets once, but he did. He even did his exit declaration, and there are various issues in those declarations which we are supposed to inform his wealth. Don't forget, asset declaration tells you what you had before you came into a position, and the exit declaration tells you what you had when you left. Now the ratio, the combination of those two, you subtract what you had before you came, but it is easy to calculate what you had during the time you were there, and then we check now what you actually had at the end of the day, whether the combination of what you had during the time you were there and what you had before you came in, which you yourself voluntarily declared, can amount to the resources, probably in terms of houses, in terms of cars, in terms of bank accounts, in terms of everything you have, whether it will now be able to match. If there is a mismatch on that end, you have to explain why there is a mismatch. So let's say you had $2,000, you have $200,000 in your accounts combined when you came in. Okay, during the time your salary was probably another $2,000. So the combination of your combined wealth value actual will be $400,000, not so? Now, if you own a house that is valued for $1 million, that means you have a surplus value of your combined value before and after, before and during your presidency. Your after, basically your value after your presidency is far above them by another $600,000. Okay, now that is unexplained wealth there and then, immediately. But it is not that you have done anything wrong. It is for us to now ask you $200,000 before you came to the position, $200,000 during the time you were in the position, $400,000, but your combined assets and worth and values, your bank accounts and everything has $1 million. Can you explain to us how you got the $600,000? Again, it has to be supported by what you declared in your asset declaration. If in your asset declaration you did not explain that source of money, that itself is an offense just by itself. But if you can explain as well how you got that money, then it is not unexplained wealth. And by the laws, the burden of that explanation is on you. It is for you. We just have to show that this man had $200,000 before he was president. He had $400,000 when he was president. But when he now left, he has $1 million worth. It is for you to explain that difference. If you cannot explain it, the offense is completed.
All right, well, let's bring this now into context. I mean, what is it that you have? Is it the case that the former president is highly likely, I mean, from what you have, to have amassed the number of property probably as against what was declared?
Before we even invite somebody, we must have preliminary evidence against you. And if we do not already have something which establishes that case, we'll not be inviting him to speak to him about unexplained wealth. Because it's easy for us to know that he lived within his means. And that is why it is not every public servant that is being questioned about their means. Even the COI, you will see that by the calculations in the COI, his wealth was about 4 billion.
Whose wealth?
The president. His earnings as president was about 4 billion throughout the time when he was president.
President Koroma?
Yes.
President Koroma.
Yes. Okay. Just one of the houses which was broken down at Godrich and rebuilt when he was president is valued by the COI, not us, to be about 40 billion. That by itself, just that one property, has already thrown the question open as to whether this is unexplained or not. But now leave that. Go to McKinney and look at the property in McKinney. This property was built on a 20-acre land, but later extended to 25-acre land by the evidence we have. Okay, the combined value, just moderate value of that property, even based on just the payment that was made for it, is about $4 million. Okay, let's forget about market valuation. Let's just talk about actual. What did you pay for this to exist? It's over $4 million. There is no way you cannot say that somebody should answer questions around this. We are not saying that it is criminal. We are not saying that it is wrong. But it is important for us to have a chat around it.
Commissioner,
as an anti-graft institution, it is important for us to say, let's sit down and look at this, sir. This property is $4 million. How did this happen? Where did this money come from? Maybe he has an explanation. I mean, I cannot foresee that. And we'll be failing in our responsibility and duty if we do not do that.
Give us a fair knowledge of how you intend to proceed with this. I mean, in terms of handling all of this, yes. Just a fair knowledge. A
fair knowledge is, we have done what we are supposed to do. We have been conversing with the lawyers. We have set certain ground rules for engagement on this. We are expecting the president, like I have said, to be a statesman. I was expecting by now that he has made a statement to quell down his people, to say that we are cooperating with law enforcement authority. We did not go and arrest him. We sent a notice to him to say, come, let's sit down and discuss this. We identified all the issues, 18 broad issues that we want to have a chat with him about. I think he should take that high road. He, as a former president, should have been the one to quell down situation by now. To say, I am going to speak with the ACC, everybody sit down, allow us to have a conversation. It is unfair what they are doing to us. It is unfair what the country is doing.
What are they doing?
Those who are threatening the ACC, those who are putting audios out attacking us, those who are saying that we want to molest the former president, those who are making this whole thing about trying to smear the former president. It is not. The ACC has shown the credibility level that we have. We have investigated people in the present government and in the past government, highly placed people of high political value, but when the evidence against them did not meet the prosecutorial threshold, or when they were able to discharge the burden of explaining the issues with which they are charged, we came out against all odds and said that there is nothing here, that this person is not guilty, that this person will not charge him, that this person is a good person. Why can't they use that in our favor? Why do they think that this is about going after somebody, just trying to smear him? Why? What do we have to gain to do that? I am a young man. I have a long way to go. I have a future. Okay? Why do I want to go and destroy another person's future? I just want to do my job.
Commissioner, following that invitation to former President Koroma? What has he said to the ACC, even if through his lawyer?
No. So far, he has been, through his lawyer at least, Joseph Fitzgerald Kamara has been handling this very professionally.
The former ACC commissioner.
The former ACC commissioner, who is, at least by our, he is the one leading the discussions and conversations with us around this issue. He has been very supportive. We have discussed it. We have, even this afternoon, I sent one of my senior prosecutors to speak with him, and certain ground rules have been agreed for us to do this. The venue we are not disclosing because we don't want people to crowd on us. We want to sit with the former president and have this conversation in an atmosphere that is conducive for all of us, for him to be able to interact with the issues himself with the fairness that the former president deserves. And we do not have any plans to arrest or detain him. All we are going after is to get a statement. And that is all we want. And that statement will now help us conclude some of these files and be able to determine what next steps we take.
Are you leading the investigations? Or your investigators?
Well, I am the chief prosecutor and the chief investigator of the ACC. But I can delegate that responsibility, and of course there are many competent people who are capable of doing this. So at this stage, I cannot disclose to you our approach to this, how we are going to do, who is going to do what. But I can assure you that the ACC has a lot of competence to be able to do this. I am not the only person, and I don't have to be there.
Would you love to be there?
Well, a good leader is somebody who makes himself irrelevant. I don't have to be there for it to happen.
How do you feel? I mean, you send an invitation to the former president, or you summoned him probably, if you like, sent summons to him to appear before your commission here on Monday the 5th. He ended up summoning you.
No, that is incorrect, and that is again the project of people who are twisting this. Okay, once the president received our invitation, Joseph Kamara called me and said, look, the president has received your invite. He has asked me to inform you that we will cooperate with you. And this happened in just about 1 hour. It was less than 2 hours after he received the summons. He said, we are ready to cooperate with you. However, it was just